Meeting to order. This is the annual public hearing for the World's Best Workforce Plan for the Northfield Public School District. Today is Monday, December 10th, 2018, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Following the presentation of the 2017-18 World's Best Workforce Plan goals and strategies for the upcoming school year by District's Director of Teaching and Learning, Mary Grace Hansen, and the district's assessment coordinator, Hope Langston, there will be an opportunity for community feedback. I'd like to remind board members this is an opportunity for the community to provide feedback to the district. As board members, we will have the opportunity to ask questions and provide comments during the regular school board meeting following the public hearing. So, welcome, Mary Grace and Hope.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to present our World's Best Workforce Report. This report was given on November 19th to Northfield Forward, and we received feedback and suggestions from them. And so we've incorporated a lot of these things into our presentation for tonight to make it more easily understood. And we'd like to say a big thank you to Northfield Forward for their time and their feedback. The World's Best Workforce was mandated by the state legislature in 2013, and Minnesota Department of Education, MDE, provided the 5 goal areas that we've used since then. And every year they've tweaked it a little bit, given us templates to use and very specific instructions to follow in putting together the report for World's Best Workforce. They mandated 5 goal areas, and we'll go through each one this evening. The first goal area is all children are ready for school. The Northfield goal for 2017-18 was, as measured by the FAST assessment, the percentage of low-risk readers will improve from 49% to 75% on the early reading assessment, and from 56% to 75% on the early math assessment. And here are the results.
So we went ahead and changed the test on you. You know, we have 30 minutes to go through a lot of data, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but if you have questions, please jot them down, because I'm happy to discuss them at any time with you. Just know that these are MAP test results, so the 55% in reading, 56% in math are those kids meeting the kindergarten benchmark score for the fall testing season. As you can see, the gaps exist as before kids even come in the door with us, and we see the demographic groups that are higher and lower performing that don't look different from the same groups that we see on other assessments that we give in Northfield. Oh yeah, here we go. Then the second thing that we measured is social emotional readiness. We believe this is a key indicator now that we have instituted the SEL curriculum. And what you're looking at is the percentage of students who were considered at risk according to the fall SABRS test results. Again, gap is apparent here. The higher number is not what we want, so these are the fall results.
So we had to write a goal for 2018-19. And our goal states that 60% of incoming kindergarten students will meet the grade level benchmark on the primary MAP assessment. We're no longer using FAST. And 80% will score not at risk on the 2019 Social, Academic, and Emotional Behavior Risk Screener, which otherwise known as SABRS. In the fall of 2018, the SABRS Behavioral Screener was given to all kindergarten students, and 23% were rated at risk. So what's next? Well, the good news is we have a wonderful construction project to begin soon, we hope, and we'll have an early childhood center at GVP, which will house our early childhood programs. We will continue with the Mother Goose curriculum that has been given to all of the daycare centers in Northfield. 2 preschool navigators have been hired by Community Services. So 45 families have received services and 17 more children have been enrolled in preschool programs since July of 2018. And pre-K and kindergarten collaborative meetings are sponsored by Northfield Promise and are held 2 to 4 times a year. And then we will continue with the MAP testing and assessment of kindergarten students in the fall, winter, and spring. Goal area 2 is all third graders will read at grade level. And our specific goal was for 2017-18 that 70% of third graders will meet or exceed grade level standards on the 2018 Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments, otherwise known as the MCAs.
So the good news is we did have an increase, and I know we've all heard about this before. So we were up 7% to 64% of our third graders reaching grade level standards this year. We can't emphasize enough the efforts that were made by teachers, Northfield Promise, and a whole host of community volunteers to help us move that needle. And we're really happy that we were able to see this result. Again, this is the disaggregated information against the state average. So the little maroon bar is where the state average falls. Then you can see each of the demographic groups. There's obviously overlap between some of our challenge subgroups. Kids may be white and FRP, or Hispanic and special education. So you do have some overlap. But you see that we did make some gains this year against the state average. And here are the overall trends since 2013. So in third grade, you saw every demographic group increase except FRP, which was down slightly. When we look at the state context for grade 3 reading, what you're seeing here is the 2017 and 2018 rankings, if you will, the percentage of districts who had proficiency rates at or above Northfield's. And you can see with that 7% increase this year as a district, we went from 51% of districts with a proficiency rate higher than ours to only 32. So what that tells you is a couple things. A, yes, we moved up in our proficiency rating, but it also tells you there's not a lot of districts at the very top. There's a huge cluster in the 60s. And then you can see the same thing for each elementary school. Big gains at Greenville, kudos to them, and also at Sibley. Then if you recall, Carleton College, their statistical consulting class, established some demographic peers for our district and each school. And we are just going to continue to track our progress against those demographic peers each year. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on these because you have them in front of you. But you can see that there were some schools that fell quite dramatically in Bridgewater's peer group and really in each schools. And Northfield at the end would be the school at the top. That's Bridgewater, pretty flat in their results, but did not see the significant declines that other schools did. And there's Greenville's. So we hold our own in our demographic peer group, and I think it's extremely important for Greenville because it is really hard to compare our 3 elementary schools against each other when they look so different demographically. This is a much truer measure. And there are Sibley's.
Our goal remained the same, even though we did not make our goal. We did have a 7% increase, which was quite impressive. So next year, 70% of third graders will meet or exceed grade level on the 2019 Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments. What's next for action steps? Well, as you know, we have implemented a new literacy curriculum in grades K through 5, and we're hoping we see some results with that. Sometimes the first year of implementation there's a slight dip because we're trying to catch everybody up and fill some holes that might have been left with the previous curriculum. And we have the systematic instruction in phonemic awareness, phonics, and sight words, which is called SIPS, which is an intervention program that comes along with our CCC curriculum, which we've been seeing some good results so far. We've been using it in the elementary schools. So those are our action steps, and there are only 2 listed, but they are huge action steps. Goal 3 is all racial and economic achievement gaps between students are closed. And the goal for 2017-18 for Northfield was the district free and reduced population achievement gap will be at least 3% less than the state average on the 2018 reading and math MCAs, and the Hispanic and English learner gaps will be smaller than the state average on the 2018 reading and math MCAs.
So this continues to be the goal that is quite challenging for us. As we talked about in Northfield Forward, one of the big issues for us is that our Hispanic population does not demographically represent what the state Hispanic population looks like. And I was going to refer to my notes so I don't misstate anything. For instance, 37.5% of the Hispanic population at the state level is EL, and it's 90.5% of our population as of the MDE snapshot last year. 17.8% of the state's Hispanic population is FRP, and ours is 42.3%. So we continue to be challenged by this, trying to attain the state average achievement gap, because our population looks a little bit different. And I'm not discounting the fact that we need to go after it. I'm just saying it's tougher for us because our demographic profile looks different. So the box just highlights our ongoing issue, and that is that the non-FRP population grew or increased at a faster rate. It was up by 4, FRP happened to be down by 1, and then you have an increasing gap. In other situations, we saw the non-challenged student group growing at a faster rate than, or increasing their proficiency at a faster rate than the challenged group, and again, that leads to an increasing gap. So it is something we continue to look at, and there you can see just the trends over time, and that gap is quite stubborn for us. We're hoping that the new reading curriculum again will address some of the gaps that we are facing. Math looks quite similar, although we did happen to be smaller than the state average in the FRP achievement gap. And there are the proficiency trends as a district in our non-FRP, FRP, EL, and white Hispanic gaps.
So our goal for 2018-19 is that the MCA reading and math achievement gaps of free and reduced price lunch, English learners, and Hispanic students and their non-challenged peers will be reduced by 5% from 2018 to 2019. So what are our action steps here? Well, we're going to enter into a complete program review of our multi-tiered systems of support and make sure we're reaching the students appropriately and making sure we're reaching all of the students we need to. Northfield Promise and the community have done a lot of work with our Latino population and at the community school. On Tuesday and Thursday evenings, we can see a lot of families and parents there. And the EL team has been looking at the data more significantly than they ever have before, and hopefully we will gain some action steps from what they are discovering as they examine the data in more depth. Area goal 4 is all students are ready for career and college. So the Northfield goal was that 70% of 8th grade students will be proficient on the reading MCA and 75% will be proficient on the math MCA. And additionally, 68% of 11th graders will reach the college-ready benchmark on the ACT. The state uses 8th grade math as their measurement, but we've added the 8th grade reading and the ACT.
So we're overachievers on our goal setting. The results were 68%, so we were awfully close. Of the 8th graders were proficient on the MCA reading test. That's up 1.6%. 76% of 8th graders were proficient on the math MCA. That's up another 4%. That's the second year in a row for 8th grade. And then 55% of 11th graders, operative word being 11th graders, the first time they take the ACT, achieve the college-ready composite score. So what's interesting is if you think back to that 3rd grade slide where you saw us below the state average for some of our challenged demographic groups in 8th grade, it looks a little bit different except for EL, which did not have any proficient students this year. I do want to point out that the state changed the exit criteria for EL services, and if you are scoring at or above a certain score on the access test, you must exit. So what we saw is a little bit of a shift in our EL population where truly students are still working their way towards English language proficiency are the students left in the program, right? Because we used to use multiple measures, including performance in the classroom, but we have seen a shift in that. So I'm not necessarily expecting our EL learners who are in our program now with that scoring criteria to be proficient on a state grade level test. There you can see the reading trends, and again that bottom line would be the EL students. Not a lot of students in that cohort, so any single change in proficiency by one student will change that percentage a lot. And with that proficiency rate, only 18% of districts testing 20 or more, or 9 or more students, or 10 students or more, have proficiency rates above Northfield. Sometimes their cell suppression happens at 20 and sometimes it happens at 10. And then here's where Northfield Middle School is sitting in their peer group. And I think this one's an interesting because you saw 3 out of 5 declining. Northfield's up a little, like Woodbury and Rogers. Math results were incredibly impressive. This team has worked so hard going after their state standards and reworking some of their instructional strategies. So you can see they are well above the state average in every demographic except EL. And there's that impressive 2-year increase. And there you are with only 11% of districts with proficiency rates higher than 8th grade. Here's their peer context, and I don't know what's going on in Rogers Middle School, but they're knocking it out of the park. But Northfield looks very good in its demographic peer group.
That's
okay. So, yes. Do you want to talk about that, or you want me to?
No, you can do the data next, and then we'll go to the new goal.
So this is our ACT goal. Again, we were looking to increase the percentage of 11th graders who are college ready on the composite score to 68%. And this year, 55% of the 11th graders. So that's any testing day in the 11th grade, not just the state testing day. Some of them have actually taken 2 sittings in 11th grade. Whoops. So here's the breakdown. 55% were college ready. Another 12% were within 2 points. Not where we wanted to see ourselves. Again, we're looking at just the 11th grade cohort. This would be the trends that we've seen. College readiness within 2 points, and then not college ready. So we saw a jump up in the kids who are more than 2 points away from that composite benchmark. The second group that we look at for ACT would be that graduating class. So the first slides we talked about were last year's 11th graders, this year's seniors. This group, though, in the ACT College Readiness Report, is the official report we get from ACT each summer for the graduating class. So for the class of 2018, this is where the ACT stacks us up against the state and the nation. And you can see our average ACT score was down just a smidge, but we still perform above the state and national average. And then the class of 2018 results for students who are college ready in each subtest, and then also all 4 subtests, which is the 3 columns furthest to the right. So again, we're outperforming state and nation. However, we feel like there's work that can be done there, and it is nice to see that this flex time, the college and career readiness, there's teachers doing some ACT work to help kids. There's conversation about this. I've been working with some teams on that, so I think we're going to see some good results from that.
So our goals for 2018-19 are to increase the percentage of 8th graders proficient on the MCA reading to 70% and on the math MCA to 77%, and increase the percentage of students who are college ready in all 4 subtests on the ACT from 34% to the class of 2018 to 40% of the class of 2019. So our action steps. We have the multi-tiered systems of support in reading and math at both the middle school and high school now. 3 hours of each subject at each school. We have the second step social emotional program implemented in grades pre-K through 8. And we have Reading Plus that we use in grades 5 through 7. Reading Plus is an online program where students move through and practice their reading skills and their comprehension. We have Ramp Up to Readiness in middle school and high school. And then again, as Hope mentioned, the flex time at the high school where students can get academic help. The 5th goal area set by Minnesota Department of Education is all students graduate from high school. The goal for 17-18, the class of 2017 graduation rate will meet or exceed 95%.
So the district graduation rate for 2017 was 91%, and it was 97% at Northfield High School. There you can see the downward trend from 16 to 17 for the district. If you look at Northfield High School, you actually see an increase in both FRP and slight increase in Hispanic and overall rate. So as you can surmise, the decline came from the ALC. We're looking at a 2018-19 graduation goal of, again, 95% for that 4-year graduation rate. So I want to talk a little bit about the ALC. You know, for the ESSA identification rules, they are taking a 3-year rolling average of graduation rates. So for us, it was 17, 16, and 15. And the ALC, as you can see, had a rather substantial decline in their graduation rate, which put them on the identification list for comprehensive support from MDE. So Daryl and his staff have been working extremely hard to do all of the steps that are required to file a plan with MDE, but just be aware that because it's a rolling average, this last year's graduation rate will be with us for 2 more years before it falls out at the bottom and is replaced by future year graduation rates. So It has actually been a great process. Daryl and I meet weekly, and he is just a master of tracking everything at the ALC, and I think we've come up with some great strategies for the plan, and we're working with the Regional Centers for Excellence to complete all of these steps. And basically our job tonight, and one of the things that we need to do per legislation, is to have you aware that we are working on this, and we are basically assuring you that we're going to cover the steps required for the identification process. So that is their graduation rate. This year they were identified for the all-student rate, which fell to 41.7%, and their white graduation rate, white student graduation rate, which fell to 47.8%. So this next year for the class of 2018, the 2015 graduation rate will fall off, being replaced at the front end by the class of 18. So you can see for 2 years it's going to take us a little while to overcome that.
So what's next? What are the steps we're going to take? We have peer helpers in grades 9 through 12 at the high school, and we have improved procedures for tracking our graduation cohort. We found some gaps that led to some of the lower rates. Again, we have the MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support in reading and math. We have OdysseyWare, an independent online program for credit recovery, and again, the flex time at the high school.
So this is just a table of our results, which we've gone through very quickly. We have 5 minutes to spare here. I want to say one more thing about that graduation rate, and that is that they are tracking the 4-year graduation rate. And so when you think about our ALC population and success within that context, it's not necessarily the 4-year rate. It could be the 5, the 6, or even the 7. We had a high number of students who were continuing this year. We don't see that, or in that cohort actually, we don't see that as a negative, even though it is counting against our 4-year graduation rate. Those students were staying on to actually complete their coursework. So we can decide what goals we want for World's Best Workforce, and when we were at the state review looking at other districts' World's Best Workforce goals, we realized, well, we could write goals that we would meet every single year. We have chosen to choose stretch goals, and as you can see in 8th grade, we did have success this year for that goal, and our 3rd grade is on its way up. So in a nutshell, this is it.
One of the things we report to the state is how highly qualified our teachers are, and we all know how important it is to have highly qualified, highly trained teachers. And this is a table that shows the number of teachers who have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and PhDs, and then if they are teaching in their area of licensure, so that they're not out of compliance, and then their years of experience. And you can see from this table that we have highly educated teachers that are teaching in their licensure area and have a great deal of teaching experience, which is all leading to a high quality teaching staff. The other thing this graph or this table does show you is that they are equally distributed at every school, that we don't have one school with highly qualified teachers and one school with lesser qualified teachers, that we have them throughout our district. We have highly qualified teachers. So that's the end, and we made it with 1 minute to spare.
Excellent, thank you. So at this juncture, I will ask if there are any community members who are here to comment on the World's Best Workforce Report. All right, seeing no community members coming forward, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ellen, is there a second? Second by Jeff. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.